Marcus Johnson's hands shook as he stared at the unconscious woman bleeding on his couch. 5 years. 5 years since Victoria Sterling had walked into his life and destroyed everything. His career, his marriage, his wife. And now God or the devil had dropped her right back into his world, helpless and broken. He could call 911 and walk away. Let someone else save her. Let karma finish what that storm started. But his mama's voice echoed in his head. Baby, you don't become like the people who hurt you. You rise above. Marcus closed his eyes and reached for his phone. Not to call for help. Not yet. Because the woman who'd shown him no mercy was about to learn what mercy really meant on his terms. Comment below what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The windshield wipers screamed against the rain, but Marcus Johnson barely heard them. His mind was somewhere else 15 years in the past in a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Memphis. Mr. Johnson, your position has been eliminated. Victoria Sterling hadn't even looked up from her papers when she'd said it. Hadn't seen his face go pale. Hadn't cared that he had a 5-year-old daughter at home. Hadn't asked about the mortgage he'd just taken out, or the promotion he'd been promised, or the 15 years he'd given to Sterling Tech Industries. Eliminated. Like he was a line item on a spreadsheet. Like he wasn't a human being. The truck's headlights caught something on the roadside, a flash of pale fabric against the darkness. Marcus slowed, squinting through the rain. Probably just trash blown by the storm. He should keep driving. He was already an hour late, and Jasmine would be worried. Lightning split the sky, and in that brief moment of brightness, Marcus saw her. A woman, face down in the mud, not moving. Jesus, he muttered, pulling over. The rain soaked through his jacket the second he stepped out. He jogged toward the figure, his work boots splashing through puddles. Up close, he could see the expensive cut of her suit, the designer heels kicked off a few feet away. Blood matted her blonde hair, mixing with the mud and rain. Marcus knelt beside her, checking for a pulse. Strong and steady. Thank God. He carefully turned her head to the side, making sure she could breathe. That's when he saw her face. Marcus jerked back like he'd been electrocuted. No. No, this wasn't possible. But there was no mistaking that face. He'd seen it in his nightmares for 5 years. Victoria Sterling, CEO of Sterling Tech Industries. The woman who'd fired him without a second thought. The woman whose decision had set off a chain reaction that ended with his wife in a hospital bed, her heart giving out from the stress of losing everything. Marcus stood stumbling backward. The rain pelted his face, mixing with something else. Tears he hadn't let himself cry in years. He could leave, get back in his truck, and drive away. Let someone else find her. Let the storm have her. His hand moved to his phone. He stared at it, water streaming down the screen. 911. 3 numbers. That's all it would take. He could make the call and go. Let the professionals handle it. His conscience would be clear. But even as he thought it, Marcus was bending down, sliding his arms under Victoria's limp body. She was lighter than he expected. Fragile. Human. Damn it, he whispered, lifting her. Mama, I hope you're watching, because I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. The drive home took 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours. Victoria remained unconscious in the passenger seat, her head lolling against the window. Marcus kept glancing at her, his emotions a tangled mess of anger and something else, something he didn't want to name. Jasmine was on the porch before he even turned off the engine. His daughter, 15, now tall and strong like her mama had been, ran down the steps. Dad? Where have you been? I was about to... She stopped, seeing the woman in his arms. Who is that? Someone who needed help, Marcus said, pushing past her. Get the first aid kit. And towels. Lots of towels. Jasmine didn't move. Dad, who is she? Now Jasmine. Something in his tone made her obey. Marcus carried Victoria to the couch, the same couch where he'd held his wife Sarah as she took her last breath 3 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on him. He laid Victoria down gently, despite every instinct screaming at him to drop her. To hurt her, the way she'd hurt him. Jasmine returned with supplies. "Should we call 911? "Not yet," Marcus said, examining the gash on Victoria's forehead. Deep but not life-threatening. He'd seen worse at the auto shop. "Help me clean this." They worked in silence, Jasmine holding the flashlight while Marcus cleaned and bandaged the wound. Victoria's breathing remained steady. Her eyes moved beneath her closed lids, dreaming maybe, or remembering. Did she dream about the lives she'd ruined? Did she remember Marcus Johnson at all? "Dad?" Jasmine said quietly. "Her clothes. That watch. She's rich, isn't she?" "Used to be, maybe." Marcus covered Victoria with a blanket, Sarah's favorite, the one with the yellow flowers. "Money doesn't mean much when you're bleeding in a ditch." Jasmine studied his face. "You know her." It wasn't a question. His daughter had always been too perceptive for her own good. "Yeah," Marcus admitted. "I know her. From before. From Sterling Tech." Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Jasmine's eyes widened. "Is she, Dad? Is this the woman who fired you?" "Go to bed, Jazz." "But..." "I said go to bed." Jasmine hesitated, then squeezed his shoulder. "Whatever you decide to do, Dad, I'm with you." After she left, Marcus sat in the armchair across from the couch, watching Victoria breathe. The clock on the wall ticked away the minutes. 1 hour. 2. He should sleep, should eat, should do something other than sit here, staring at the woman who'd destroyed his life. "Why?" he whispered. "Why did you do it?" Victoria didn't answer, just kept breathing in and out alive because Marcus Johnson had chosen mercy over justice. The sun was rising when Victoria finally stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused and confused. They landed on Marcus, and for a moment there was no recognition, just fear. "Where?" Her voice came out as a croak. "Where am I?" "You're in my home," Marcus said, his voice flat. "Your car went off the road in the storm. You hit your head. I brought you here." Victoria tried to sit up, winced, and fell back against the couch. Her hand went to the bandage on her forehead. I don't remember." "The accident or the last 5 years?" Something in his tone made her look at him more carefully. Really look. Her eyes narrowed, searching his face. Do I know you?" Marcus laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Oh, you know me, Ms. Sterling. You just don't remember. But I remember. I remember everything." Recognition flickered in her eyes, followed by something that might have been shame or fear. You worked for me. At Sterling Tech. Worked for you. Past tense. Because you fired me. December 15th, 2018, 3:47 p.m. You want to know how I know the exact time? Because that's when my life ended. Victoria's face went pale. There were layoffs. The company was, don't. Marcus stood, his hands clenched into fists. Don't you dare justify it. Don't tell me it was just business or nothing personal or any of the other corporate garbage you people use to sleep at night. I'm sorry, Victoria whispered. You're sorry. Marcus laughed again. 5 years too late, but sure you're sorry. That makes everything better, doesn't it? My wife's dead. But hey, at least Victoria Sterling is sorry. Victoria's eyes widened. Your wife, Sarah Johnson, died 3 years ago. Heart attack. Want to know what the doctor said caused it? Stress. Want to know what caused the stress? Losing our house, our savings, everything we'd worked for. All because you decided I was redundant. Tears spilled down Victoria's face, but Marcus felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness. I didn't know, she said. I swear I didn't know. No, you didn't know. Because you didn't care to know. I was just a number on a spreadsheet to you. Employee number 4427. Cut him loose, save some money, boost the quarterly earnings. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Marcus leaned forward. Explain it to me, Ms. Sterling. Make me understand how firing a man with 15 years of loyal service made sense. Help me see how destroying my family was necessary for the greater good. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it. Tears streamed down her face, but no words came out. That's what I thought, Marcus said. He walked to the window, staring out at the rising sun. You should rest. When you're stronger, I'll take you wherever you need to go. Until then, stay out of my way. He left the room before she could respond. Before he could do something he'd regret. In the kitchen, Jasmine was making coffee. She looked up when he entered, her eyes full of questions. She knows who you are. Yeah, Marcus said, accepting the mug she offered. She knows. Are you going to make her leave? Marcus thought about it. Really thought about it. No, he said finally. I'm going to let her stay. Why? Because, Marcus said, staring into his coffee. Because if I throw her out, I become just like her. And I won't do that. I won't let her make me into something I'm not. Jasmine hugged him tight. Mama would be proud of you. Mama would tell me I'm being an idiot, Marcus corrected. But yeah, she'd be proud too. Over the next 3 days, an uneasy tension filled the house. Victoria kept to herself, mostly staying in the guest room. When she did emerge, she moved quietly, carefully, like a ghost afraid of being seen. Marcus went about his routine work at the auto shop, dinner with Jasmine, evenings in his workshop. He didn't speak to Victoria unless necessary. Didn't acknowledge her presence any more than he had to. But he noticed things. The way she jumped at loud noises. The nightmares that made her cry out in her sleep. The way her hands trembled when she tried to drink coffee. On the third night, Marcus found her in the kitchen at 2 a.m., staring at a cup of tea she hadn't touched. Can't sleep, he asked immediately, regretting breaking the silence. Victoria looked up, startled. I keep seeing the accident, the car sliding, the tree coming at me, and then, she trailed off. And then nothing, just darkness, until I woke up and saw your face. She met his eyes. The last face I expected to see. The last face I deserved to see. Marcus poured himself a glass of water, leaning against the counter. You want to know something funny? When I saw you lying there in the rain, my first thought was to leave you. Just drive away and let karma handle it. Why didn't you? Because my mama raised me better than that. Because Sarah would have stopped the car without hesitation. Because... He paused. Because I'm not you. The words hung between them, heavy and sharp. You're right, Victoria said quietly. You're nothing like me. You're a good man, Marcus Johnson, better than I ever was. Don't, Marcus said. Don't try to make this into some kind of redemption story where you learn to be a better person. This isn't a fairy tale. I know that. Victoria's voice was steady now. But I need you to know something. The layoffs, including yours, they weren't my idea. Marcus laughed bitterly. Of course they weren't. They never are they? No, listen, please. Victoria stood, moving closer. Thomas Hendricks. He was my VP of operations. He came to me with reports showing irregularities in your department, financial discrepancies. He said you'd discovered them and were about to go public, that we needed to act fast to protect the company. That's a lie. I know it was a lie. I know that now. Because 3 years ago Thomas did the same thing to me. He'd been embezzling for years, and when I started asking questions, he framed me. By the time I figured out what he'd done, Sterling Tech was in ruins. The SEC investigation, the lawsuits, the bankruptcy. It was all him. Marcus stared at her. You expect me to believe you were set up? I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm telling you the truth. Thomas Hendricks destroyed both our lives, and he's still out there, probably doing the same thing to someone else. Even if that's true, Marcus said slowly, You still made the choice to fire me. Thomas gave you false information, fine. But you pulled the trigger. You didn't investigate, didn't ask questions, didn't give me a chance to defend myself. You're right. Victoria's voice broke. I was arrogant, overconfident. I trusted Thomas completely, and I was so focused on protecting the company that I forgot about protecting the people who made it work. People like you. Marcus wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to his rage like a shield, but something in Victoria's voice, genuine remorse, real pain, made him hesitate. What happened to you? He asked. After Sterling Tech fell apart. Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. I lost everything. The company, obviously. My reputation. My marriage. My husband left the day the news broke. My kids won't speak to me. I had to sell my house, my cars, everything. I've been living in a studio apartment working as a consultant for nonprofits. Nonprofits. I started a foundation, helping displaced workers, people who've lost their jobs through corporate downsizing, teaching them new skills, helping them find work. She wiped her eyes. It's my way of trying to make amends. For what I did to you. To everyone. Marcus processed this. The powerful CEO who'd ruined his life was now living in a studio apartment helping other people put their lives back together. The irony was almost too much. Does it help? He asked quietly. Does helping other people make you feel better about what you did? Victoria met his eyes. No, nothing makes me feel better. But at least I'm doing something. At least I'm trying. They stood in the kitchen, the silence between them different now. Not comfortable, but not hostile either. Just present. I should go back to bed, Victoria said finally. Thank you for listening. She turned to leave, but Marcus spoke. Victoria. She stopped, looking back. I'm not ready to forgive you, he said. I don't know if I'll ever be ready, but... He took a deep breath. But I'm willing to listen. If you want to talk about what happened, really talk, I'll listen. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, Marcus. That's more than I deserve. After she left, Marcus stood in the kitchen for a long time, staring at nothing. His mama's voice echoed in his head again, stronger this time. Baby, forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It's about letting go of the poison so it doesn't kill you too. I'm trying, Mama, Marcus whispered to the empty room. I'm trying. Upstairs, a door opened. Jasmine appeared at the top of the stairs, looking down at him. I heard everything, she said. I figured you did. Are you really going to forgive her? Marcus climbed the stairs, putting his arm around his daughter. I don't know, Jazz, but I'm going to try. For me, for your mama's memory, and maybe even for her. She destroyed our family. I know. Mama died because of her. I know that too. Jasmine leaned against him. But Mama would want us to forgive her, wouldn't she? Marcus kissed the top of his daughter's head. Yeah, baby. Your mama would want exactly that. They stood together in the hallway, two people trying to figure out how to carry on when everything had fallen apart. Outside, the sun continued to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. A new day. A new beginning. Or maybe just another day of trying to survive. Only time would tell. The smell of bacon woke Victoria the next morning. For a moment, she forgot where she was, forgot everything that had happened. Then the pain in her head reminded her, and the memories came flooding back. The storm, the accident, Marcus Johnson's face when he recognized her. She sat up slowly, her muscles protesting. Through the thin walls, she could hear voices in the kitchen. Marcus and his daughter talking in low tones. Dad, you can't seriously be thinking about helping her. I'm not helping her, Jazz. I'm just not throwing her out. That's the same thing. No, it's not. Victoria pressed her hand to her chest, feeling her heart race. She shouldn't be listening, but she couldn't seem to move. She killed Mama, Jasmine said, her voice breaking. The words hit Victoria like a physical blow. She'd known intellectually that Marcus's wife had died, but hearing it from their daughter, hearing the raw pain in that young voice, made it real in a way nothing else had. Your mama died of a heart attack, Marcus said gently. Because we lost everything. Because of her. Silence. Victoria held her breath. You're not wrong, Marcus said finally. But your mama also taught us that holding on to hate destroys us faster than anything else. She'd want us to be better than that. I don't want to be better. I want to be angry. I know, baby. I know. Victoria couldn't listen anymore. She stood, ignoring the dizziness, and made her way to the bathroom. In the mirror, she barely recognized herself. No makeup, hair matted with dried blood, the bandage on her forehead stark white against her pale skin. This was what she'd become. Not the powerful CEO in designer suits, but a broken woman who'd hurt so many people she couldn't count them all anymore. She splashed water on her face and returned to the guest room, pulling on the borrowed clothes Marcus had left for her. Sweatpants and a t-shirt that said Johnson's Auto Repair across the front. She almost laughed. Almost. When she finally worked up the courage to enter the kitchen, Jasmine was alone at the table, eating cereal and scrolling through her phone. The girl looked up, and her expression went cold. Morning, Victoria said quietly. Jasmine didn't respond, just stared at her with eyes that looked so much like her father's, it hurt. Is your dad? At work. Jasmine turned back to her phone. He left an hour ago. Victoria moved to the coffee pot, her hands shaking. She poured a cup and turned to find Jasmine watching her. I heard what you said, Jasmine said. Last night, about how you were set up, about Thomas Hendricks. I shouldn't have. Is it true? Victoria met the girl's eyes. Yes, but that doesn't excuse what I did. I still made the choice to fire your father. I still didn't investigate. I still destroyed your family. Yeah, Jasmine said. You did. The silence stretched between them, heavy and uncomfortable. My mom was a nurse, Jasmine said suddenly. Did you know that? Victoria shook her head. She worked at Baptist Memorial, night shift because it paid better. She was saving up for my college fund. Jasmine's voice was steady, but her hands gripped the table edge. When Dad got fired, she picked up extra shifts, double shifts. Sometimes she'd work 16 hours straight. Victoria's throat tightened. The doctor said her heart couldn't take it. Said she'd been under too much stress for too long. She died in her sleep. Dad found her in the morning. Jasmine looked up, tears streaming down her face. I was 12 years old and I came downstairs to find my dad holding my dead mother in his arms. So yeah, you didn't pull the trigger. But you loaded the gun. Victoria couldn't speak, couldn't move. All she could see was Marcus cradling his wife's body, while a 12-year-old girl watched her world fall apart. I'm sorry, she whispered. Jasmine, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring her back. Jasmine stood, grabbing her backpack. I have school. Lock the door when you leave, because you are leaving, right? I don't know. Jasmine laughed bitterly. Of course you don't. Why would you? You never think about the consequences of your actions until they hit you in the face. She left the door slamming behind her. Victoria sank into a chair, her coffee forgotten. She'd known she'd hurt Marcus, but somehow facing his daughter, seeing the generational damage she'd caused, made it so much worse. Her phone buzzed. She'd been ignoring it for days, but now she pulled it out. 17 missed calls. 32 text messages. Most from her assistant, Linda. She scrolled through them. The foundation was in trouble. The Anderson Group, their biggest donor, was threatening to pull funding. Without them, they'd have to shut down operations within 3 months. Perfect, Victoria muttered. Just perfect. She was so focused on her phone that she didn't hear the door open, didn't realize someone had entered until a voice said, "You're still here?" Victoria jumped, nearly dropping her phone. Marcus stood in the doorway, still in his work coveralls, grease staining his hands. Yes. I'm sorry. Jasmine said you were at work. Forgot my wallet. Marcus moved to the counter, grabbed it. You okay? You look like you've been crying. I talked to your daughter this morning. Ah. Marcus leaned against the counter. She went for the throat, did she? She told me about Sarah, about finding her. Marcus's expression flickered. She shouldn't have done that. No, she should have. I needed to hear it, needed to understand what I did to your family. Victoria stood facing him. Marcus, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything from you. But I need you to know that if I could go back, if I could change what I did, I would. In a heartbeat. But you can't. No, I can't. They stood in the kitchen, the morning light streaming through the window between them. I read something once, Marcus said slowly, about forgiveness. It said that forgiveness isn't about the person who hurt you. It's about releasing yourself from the prison of hate. He met her eyes. I've been in that prison for 5 years, Victoria, and I'm tired. I'm so damn tired of being angry all the time. What are you saying? I'm saying... Marcus took a deep breath. I'm saying I want to try. Not for you. For me. For Jasmine. For Sarah's memory. He paused. But I need you to be honest with me. Completely honest. No more corporate speak. No more justifications. Just the truth. Okay. Victoria whispered. Okay. Tell me about Thomas Hendricks. Tell me everything. So she did. They sat at the kitchen table, coffee growing cold between them, and Victoria told him the whole story, about how Thomas had been her mentor, her right hand, how he'd convinced her that Marcus had found evidence of financial irregularities, how she'd trusted Thomas completely, never questioning his reports. He was brilliant, she said, so brilliant that by the time I realized what he'd done, it was too late. He'd embezzled over $50 million. Set up shell companies, faked invoices, moved money around so many times the FBI couldn't track it all. And he blamed you. He blamed me, yes. But I was the CEO. I should have known. Should have checked. Should have... She trailed off. There's no excuse, Marcus. Even if Thomas was the mastermind, I'm the one who signed the papers. I'm the one who fired you without investigation. I'm the one who destroyed lives. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. What happened to Thomas? He cut a deal, testified against me in exchange for a reduced sentence, served 2 years in minimum security, and now he's out, living in Nashville working as a business consultant. Victoria's voice dripped with bitterness. The man who destroyed thousands of lives is giving advice to other companies. Jesus. Yeah. Marcus stood walking to the window. You know what the worst part is. I believe you. I believe that Thomas set you up. But it doesn't change anything, does it? You still made the choice. You still fired me. I know. And now you want absolution. You want me to say it's okay, that I forgive you, that we can move on. No, Victoria said quietly. I don't want absolution. I want you to know that I'm different now. That I've spent the last 3 years trying to help people like you, people I hurt. I started the Workers' Dignity Foundation. We've helped over 300 families get back on their feet. Marcus turned. 300 families. That's good. That's really good. His voice was level, unreadable. Does it make you feel better? No. It makes me feel like I'm drowning slightly slower. Victoria met his eyes. Every person I help, I think about you, about your wife, about Jasmine, and I wonder if it's enough, if it will ever be enough. It won't be, Marcus said simply. You could help 10,000 families, and it wouldn't bring Sarah back, wouldn't give Jasmine her mother, wouldn't give me those 5 years. I know. But, Marcus said, and something in his tone made Victoria look up. But it's something. It's more than most people would do. He came back to the table, sat down. Tell me about the foundation. What exactly do you do? Victoria explained. Job training programs, resume workshops, interview coaching, emergency financial assistance for families in crisis, child care support, mental health counseling. We focus on people who've been displaced by corporate downsizing, she said. Single parents mostly. People with families depending on them. People like you were. And now you're losing funding. How did you know? Your phone's been buzzing non-stop for the last hour. Plus you have that look, the one people get when their world's falling apart. Marcus smiled grimly. I know that look pretty well. Victoria laughed, despite herself. The Anderson Group is pulling their support. They're our biggest donor. Without them. She shrugged. We close our doors in 3 months. Why are they pulling out? Because my name is toxic. The board found out I'm the founder, and they don't want to be associated with me. Bad publicity. That's bullshit. That's business, Victoria corrected. And they're not wrong. I am toxic. Everything I touch turns to poison. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that shocked her. What if I helped you? Victoria stared at him. What? What if I helped you save the foundation? I know people here. Small business owners, community leaders. This town believes in second chances. It's how I survived. He leaned forward. We could do a local fundraiser. Show the Anderson Group that people still believe in what you're doing. Marcus, you don't have to. I'm not doing it for you, he interrupted. I'm doing it for the 300 families you've helped. For the people who'll lose their support if the foundation closes. He paused. For Sarah. She'd want me to help people. Even if one of those people is you. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve your help. Probably not, Marcus agreed. But like I said, this isn't about you. It's about the people you're helping. So are you going to accept my help, or are you going to let your pride destroy something good? Victoria wiped her eyes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We've got a lot of work to do. Marcus stood, pulling out his phone. I need to make some calls. You get cleaned up, start putting together information about the foundation. We're going to need numbers, success stories, everything. Marcus, Victoria said as he headed for the door. Why are you doing this? Really? He turned back, his expression unreadable. Because 5 years ago you made a choice that destroyed my life. And now I'm making a choice that might save yours. Maybe that makes us even. Maybe it doesn't. But at least I'll know I tried to be better than you were. The words stung, but Victoria nodded. That's fair. After he left, Victoria sat in the empty kitchen, her mind racing. This man she'd hurt so badly, was offering to help her. Not because he'd forgiven her, not because he trusted her, but because it was the right thing to do. She pulled out her laptop and started compiling information about the foundation. Success stories, financial reports, testimonials from families they'd helped. As she worked, she found herself thinking about Sarah Johnson, a nurse who'd worked herself to death trying to keep her family afloat, a mother who'd never see her daughter graduate high school, a wife whose husband still loved her so much that he was willing to help the woman who'd destroyed her. I'll make this right, Victoria whispered to the empty room. I swear, Sarah, I'll make this right. That evening, Marcus returned with Jasmine. The girl ignored Victoria completely, heading straight to her room. But Marcus sat down at the table, pulling out a notebook. Okay, he said. Here's what I've got. Pete's Diner will donate space for a community meeting. Mrs. Chen at the hardware store will spread the word. And Pastor Williams at AME Church said he'd let us use the church hall for a fundraiser event. Victoria stared at the list. You did all this in one afternoon. People around here remember what it's like to struggle. and they remember who helped them when they were down. He met her eyes. Now we just need to convince them that your foundation is worth supporting. That's the hard part. Yeah, it is. Marcus tapped his pen against the notebook. We need to be smart about this. Can't just show up and ask for money. We need to tell them a story. Show them why this matters. What kind of story? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Your story. My story. How the same corporate system that destroyed my family also destroyed yours. How you're trying to fix it. They won't want to hear about me. No, Marcus agreed. They won't. But they'll want to hear about the single mother you helped find a job, the laid-off factory worker you taught new skills, the family you kept from losing their home. He leaned forward. That's the story we tell. Not about you paying penance. About people helping people. Victoria nodded slowly. Okay, I can do that. They worked late into the night, Victoria at her laptop, Marcus making phone calls and lists. At some point, Jasmine emerged from her room, drawn by the sound of their voices. She stood in the doorway watching them work. What are you doing? She finally asked. Marcus looked up. Helping Victoria save her foundation. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Jasmine crossed her arms. The right thing to do would be to let it fail. Let her lose everything like we did. That's revenge, not justice, Marcus said quietly. And revenge doesn't bring your mama back. Jasmine's eyes filled with tears. I miss her, Dad. I know, baby. I miss her too. Marcus opened his arms and Jasmine crossed the room to hug him. Over his daughter's shoulder, he met Victoria's eyes. But your mama taught us to be better than our pain. To help people even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Victoria turned away, giving them privacy. But she heard Jasmine whisper, I don't want to forgive her. You don't have to, Marcus said. Not today. Maybe not ever. But you can choose not to let hate poison you. That's different from forgiveness. Later, after Jasmine had gone back to her room, Victoria said, She has every right to hate me. Yeah, Marcus agreed. She does. But she also has the right to a future that isn't defined by hate. I'm trying to give her that. By helping me. By showing her that we can choose who we become. That we don't have to be victims forever. He closed his notebook. Tomorrow we start talking to people. You ready? No, Victoria admitted. But I'll do it anyway. Marcus smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. Good, because ready or not, we've got work to do. That night, Victoria lay in the guest room staring at the ceiling. In the other room, she could hear Marcus moving around getting ready for bed. Down the hall, Jasmine's music played softly. This family, this broken, hurting family, was giving her a chance she didn't deserve. And Victoria was determined not to waste it. She pulled out her phone and sent a text to Linda, her assistant. Cancel my meetings for the next 2 weeks. I'm staying in Tennessee. We're fighting for the foundation. Linda's response came immediately. About damn time. What do you need? Victoria smiled in the darkness. Everything. Send me everything we have on successful grassroots fundraising. And Linda, thank you for believing in me. Someone has to. Now get to work, boss. Victoria set down her phone and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would be the first day of the hardest work she'd ever done. Not running a company or managing millions, but earning back trust one person at a time. And maybe, just maybe, finding redemption in the last place she'd expected to look. In the room next door, Marcus lay awake too, thinking about the choice he'd made. To help Victoria. To model forgiveness for his daughter. To honor Sarah's memory by being the man she'd believed he could be. I hope I'm doing the right thing, baby, he whispered into the darkness. I hope you're up there proud of me and not thinking I've lost my damn mind. In his heart, he felt Sarah's answer. Felt her love and her faith in him. And for the first time in 5 years, Marcus Johnson felt something he'd almost forgotten how to feel. The community center meeting room smelled like coffee and old carpet. Victoria stood at the front, her hands trembling as she arranged papers on the folding table. 20 chairs faced her, and only 3 were occupied. Mrs. Chen from the hardware store sat in the back row, arms crossed. Pastor Williams had taken a seat near the door, his expression neutral. And in the front row, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, sat Marcus. "Maybe we should reschedule," Victoria whispered to him. "Nobody's coming." "Give it time," Marcus said, but she could hear the doubt in his voice. The door opened. An elderly black woman entered leaning on a cane. She surveyed the room with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "This the meeting about the Workers' Foundation?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." Marcus stood. "Miss Ruby, thank you for coming. Heard you were involved, Marcus Johnson. That's the only reason I'm here." Miss Ruby made her way to a chair, her cane tapping against the floor. "Now who's this white woman, and why should I care about her foundation?" Victoria's face flushed. "My name is Victoria Sterling and—" "Sterling Tech," Miss Ruby interrupted. "I know who you are. You're the woman who fired half of Memphis 5 years ago." "Not half of Memphis," Victoria said quietly. "But yes, I was responsible for significant layoffs." "Including Marcus here?" "Yes, ma'am, including Marcus." Miss Ruby looked between them, her eyes narrowing. "And now you're working together. That's an interesting development." More people filtered in. A young mother with a baby on her hip, 2 middle-aged men in work clothes, a woman in a fast food uniform still wearing her name tag. By the time they started, 15 people filled the chairs. Marcus stood. "Thank you all for coming. I know some of you are wondering why I called this meeting, especially given my history with Ms. Sterling here." "You can say that again," someone muttered. 5 years ago, Victoria Sterling fired me from Sterling Tech. That decision cost me everything. My career, my savings, my home." Marcus's voice remained steady. 3 months later, my wife Sarah died from the stress of trying to keep our family afloat. The room went silent. So believe me when I say I understand anger. I understand wanting revenge. I've spent 5 years carrying that weight. He paused. "But I'm here tonight because I've learned something important. Sometimes the person who hurt you is also trying to make things right. And sometimes the right thing to do is help them do that." Victoria stood, her legs shaky. "I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't expect you to like me. But I'm going to tell you what I've been doing for the last 3 years, and then you can decide if it's worth your support." She pulled up a presentation on her laptop, projecting it onto the wall. Photos of families appeared. Real people with real stories. "This is Maria Gonzalez," Victoria said, pointing to a woman with 2 children. She lost her job when the textile factory closed. Single mother, 2 kids, no high school diploma. The Workers' Dignity Foundation taught her medical billing. She's now working at Baptist Memorial, making twice what she made at the factory. Victoria clicked to the next slide. "This is James Patterson, 58 years old, laid off from the auto plant after 30 years. Nobody would hire him, said he was too old, too set in his ways. We taught him welding. He's now running his own small business." She continued through the slides, each one a story of transformation. A laid-off teacher who became a web designer. A factory worker who learned HVAC repair. A retail clerk who trained as a pharmacy technician. "We've helped 312 families in 3 years, Victoria said. But our biggest donor is pulling funding. They say my name is toxic. They're probably right. But I'm asking you to look past me and see the work. See the people we're helping." Miss Ruby raised her hand. "How much money you need?" "To stay open for another year. $250,000. Someone whistled. "That's a lot of money." "It is," Victoria agreed. "But broken down, it's less than $1,000 per family we help. And most of those families go on to become taxpayers, homeowners, contributors to their communities." The young mother spoke up, her voice hesitant. "I heard about your foundation, from my cousin in Nashville. She said you helped her get her GED and find work when nobody else would. What's your cousin's name? Victoria asked. Tamika Wilson. Victoria's face lit up. Tamika. She's working as a dental assistant now, right? Just bought her first car. You remember her? I remember everyone, Victoria said quietly. Every single person we've helped, because each one matters. Pastor Williams stood. Ms. Sterling, I have to ask. Have to. Why? Why are you doing this? Is it guilt penance? What's your endgame? Victoria met his eyes. All of the above, Pastor. Yes, I feel guilty. Yes, I'm trying to make amends. But it's more than that. I destroyed lives, and I can't undo that. I can't bring back Marcus's wife. I can't give him back the 5 years I took. But I can help other people avoid that pain. I can use what I learned, all the resources and connections I built in my corporate career to help people who are where Marcus was 5 years ago. That doesn't absolve you, Miss Ruby said bluntly. No, ma'am, it doesn't. But it's something. I hope so. The meeting continued for another hour. People asked questions, challenged her, demanded to see financial records and success rates. Victoria answered everything honestly, holding nothing back. When it finally ended, most people left without committing. But Mrs. Chen approached the table. The hardware store can donate $500, she said, and I'll talk to the other business owners on Main Street. Thank you, Victoria whispered. Pastor Williams was next. The church can't give money, but we can offer space for training classes, and I'll mention the foundation in Sunday's sermon. One by one, small commitments trickled in. Not enough to save the foundation, but enough to start. After everyone left, Victoria collapsed into a chair. That was brutal. That was Memphis, Marcus corrected. People here don't trust easy, but once you earn it, they'll move mountains for you. Did I earn it? Not yet, but you made a start. They packed up in silence, loading boxes into Marcus's truck. As they drove home, Victoria said, Your wife, Sarah, what was she like? Marcus was quiet for so long Victoria thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, She was light. That's the best way I can describe her. When things got dark, Sarah was the one who found the light. Jasmine has that same quality. Yeah, she does. Scares me sometimes how much she's like her mama. Marcus turned onto their street. Sarah would have liked you, you know, if you'd met under different circumstances. How can you say that? Because Sarah believed in second chances. She believed people could change. His voice caught. She believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. Victoria wiped her eyes. I wish I could have met her. Me too. Inside the house, Jasmine was doing homework at the kitchen table. She looked up when they entered, her expression guarded. How did it go? She asked, directing the question to her father. Could have been worse, Marcus said. Could have been better. Jasmine's eyes flicked to Victoria. Did they give you money? Some small donations, Victoria said. Not nearly enough, but it's a start. Good. Jasmine returned to her homework, effectively dismissing them. Victoria retreated to the guest room, but she could hear father and daughter talking in the kitchen. You're really going through with this? Jasmine asked. Yeah, Jazz, I am. Even though it means helping her. Especially because it means helping her. I don't understand you, Dad. I know you don't. And that's okay. You don't have to understand. You just have to trust that I know what I'm doing. But what if you're wrong? What if she hurts you again? Marcus's voice softened. Then she hurts me again. But I can't live my life afraid of being hurt, baby. Your mama wouldn't want that for me. Or for you. Victoria pressed her hand to her mouth, stifling a sob. This man, this good, kind man she'd hurt so badly, was teaching his daughter grace through his actions. And Victoria was determined to prove he wasn't making a mistake. The next morning, Victoria's phone rang. Her assistant, Linda. You need to see this, Linda said without preamble. See what? Someone leaked your story. It's all over social media. Disgraced CEO begs for forgiveness from man she destroyed. Victoria's stomach dropped. What? How? I don't know, but it's going viral. And Victoria, it's not good. People are tearing you apart. Victoria opened her laptop, her hands shaking. There it was. A video from last night's meeting recorded on someone's phone. But it was edited to make her look calculating, manipulative. The parts where she showed genuine emotion were cut. The parts where she talked about helping families were shortened. What remained was a narrative of a wealthy white woman using a black man's pain for publicity. "Oh, God," Victoria whispered. Marcus appeared in the doorway. "What's wrong?" She turned the laptop toward him. His face went rigid as he watched the video. "Who posted this?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Victoria scrolled through the comments. Thousands of them. Most were vicious. But then she saw it. The original poster's username, Thomas H. Consulting. "Thomas," she breathed. "Thomas Hendricks posted this." Marcus leaned closer, reading. "Your old VP, the one who embezzled. He must have heard about the foundation, about what we're trying to do." Victoria's hands clenched into fists. "He's trying to destroy it before we even get started." The video had been shared over 10,000 times. News outlets were picking it up. Her phone started ringing non-stop, reporters wanting comments, board members demanding explanations, donors pulling support. "Turn it off," Marcus said. "All of it. Turn it off." Victoria powered down her phone and closed her laptop. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely manage it. "He wins," she said. "Thomas wins. Again. He destroyed my company, and now he's destroying the foundation." "No," Marcus said firmly. "He only wins if we let him." "Marcus, you saw those comments, saw what people are saying. Nobody's going to support the foundation now. Nobody's going to trust me." Then we changed the narrative. "How?" Marcus pulled out his own phone. "By telling the truth, all of it. No editing, no spin. Just raw, honest truth." Before Victoria could stop him, he started recording. "My name is Marcus Johnson," he said to the camera. 5 years ago, Victoria Sterling fired me from Sterling Tech. That decision cost me my career, my home, and eventually my wife's life. I had every reason to hate this woman. Every reason to want revenge. Victoria tried to interrupt, but Marcus held up his hand. "But here's what that video doesn't show you. It doesn't show Victoria living in a studio apartment, having lost everything just like I did. It doesn't show her spending the last 3 years helping 300 families get back on their feet. It doesn't show her crying when she talks about the people she's hurt." Marcus's voice grew stronger. "That video was posted by Thomas Hendricks, the man who actually destroyed both our lives. He embezzled millions, framed Victoria, and got away with it. And now he's trying to destroy the good work she's doing because he can't stand seeing her succeed where he failed at being a decent human being." He moved the camera to show Victoria, tears streaming down her face. "This woman destroyed my life," Marcus continued. "That's true. But she's also trying to save hundreds of others. And I'm choosing to help her do that. Not because I've forgotten what she did. Not because it's easy, but because my wife taught me that holding on to hate only destroys the person holding it." He turned the camera back to himself. "So yeah, Victoria Sterling hurt me. But I'm not going to let Thomas Hendricks hurt anyone else. And if you believe in second chances, if you believe people can change, then help us save this foundation. Because it's not about Victoria. It's about the families who need help. And they deserve better than to be caught in the middle of someone else's revenge." Marcus ended the recording and immediately posted it to every social media platform he could find. "There," he said. "Now we wait." Victoria couldn't speak, couldn't process what he'd just done. He'd defended her, publicly, knowing it might bring more hate down on his own head. Jasmine appeared in the doorway, her phone in her hand. "Dad, what did you just do?" "The right thing," Marcus said. "I hope." Within an hour, Marcus's video had been shared 1,000 times. Within 3 hours, 10,000. The comments section exploded, but this time they were different. If Marcus Johnson can forgive her, who are we to judge? This is what real grace looks like. Thomas Hendricks is the real villain here. Local news outlets picked it up. Then, regional. By evening, a national morning show wanted to interview them both. Victoria's phone, now powered back on, rang. It was Linda. "Boss, you're not going to believe this. Donations are flooding in, small amounts mostly. $10 here, 20 there, but it's thousands of them." Victoria checked the foundation's website. Linda was right. The donation page was crashing from traffic. People from all over the country were giving whatever they could. "How much?" Victoria asked, her voice shaking. "So far, $40,000, and it's still climbing." Victoria looked at Marcus, who was reading something on his own phone. "It's working," she said. "People are donating." "I know." He turned his phone toward her. "Look at this." It was a message from someone claiming to be a former Sterling Tech employee. "Victoria Sterling fired me 6 years ago. I hated her for it. But I just donated $100 to her foundation. Not because I forgive her, but because I know what it's like to need a second chance. And I got mine. Maybe she deserves hers too." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "They're giving us a second chance." "No," Marcus corrected gently. "They're giving those 300 families and all the future families a second chance. You're just the vessel." That night, they appeared on the local news together. The interviewer was tough, asking pointed questions about Victoria's past, about the layoffs, about Sarah's death. "Mrs. Sterling, some people are saying this is just a publicity stunt, that you're using Marcus Johnson's pain to rehabilitate your image. What do you say to that?" Victoria looked directly at the camera. "They're not entirely wrong. Yes, I'm trying to rehabilitate my image, but not for my sake, for the foundation's sake, because if people won't support it because of me, then families suffer, and I refuse to let my past mistakes destroy more lives." She paused. "As for using Marcus's pain, I didn't ask him to defend me. I didn't ask him to make that video. He chose to do that because he's a better person than I ever was." The interviewer turned to Marcus. "Mr. Johnson, why are you helping the woman who destroyed your life?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Because my wife Sarah used to say that forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about freeing yourself from the poison of hate, and I've been poisoned long enough." He looked at Victoria. "This woman made a terrible mistake, but she's spent 3 years trying to fix it. That's more than most people would do. So yeah, I'm helping her, because that's what Sarah would have wanted me to do." After the interview, they sat in Marcus's truck in the parking lot, neither of them moving. "Thank you," Victoria finally said, "for what you said in there, about Sarah. I meant every word." "I know you did. That's what makes it so hard." She turned to face him. "Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "Okay." "Do you really believe I can change? Or are you just helping me because it's what Sarah would have wanted?" Marcus was quiet for a long time. "At first," he said slowly, "it was about Sarah, about being the man she believed I could be. But now," he met her eyes, "now I'm helping you because I've seen you with those families, seen how you remember every name, every story, seen you cry when someone gets a job or signs a lease on an apartment. That's not an act, that's real." "But do you forgive me?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "Some days I think I do. Other days, I wake up angry all over again. But I'm trying, Victoria. I'm trying to let go of the hate, and that's all any of us can do, try." Victoria nodded, tears streaming down her face. "That's more than I deserve." "Maybe, but it's what you're getting anyway." They drove home in silence, but it was a different kind of silence than before. More peaceful, more hopeful. Jasmine was waiting when they got home. She'd made dinner spaghetti, Sarah's recipe, and set the table for 3. "I saw the interview," she said as they sat down. "Both of you did good." Marcus reached across the table and squeezed his daughter's hand. "Thanks, baby." Jasmine looked at Victoria. "I'm not ready to forgive you, but I'm trying not to hate you. Dad says that's progress." "That's more than progress," Victoria said softly. "That's grace." They ate together, the three of them, and for the first time since Victoria had woken up on Marcus's couch, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt like maybe, just maybe, she might find her way back from the darkness. Not because she deserved it, but because Marcus Johnson and his daughter were showing her the way. And because sometimes second chances came from the most unexpected places. The donations kept coming. By the end of the week, they'd raised over $100,000, still not enough to save the foundation, but enough to buy them time. Victoria spent her days fielding calls from reporters, potential donors, and families asking for help. Marcus went back to work at the auto shop, but every evening he'd come home to find Victoria at his kitchen table, surrounded by papers and coffee cups. "You need to sleep," he told her on the 5th night, finding her still working at midnight. "I will. Just need to finish these grant applications." "Victoria." She looked up, her eyes red-rimmed and exhausted. "I can't stop, Marcus. If I stop, I'll think about what might happen if we fail. About all those families who need help. And if you work yourself into the ground, you won't be able to help anyone." He took the laptop from her hands. "Bed. Now." "You sound like my father," she muttered, but she stood. "How long since you talked to him?" Victoria froze. 3 years. Since the scandal broke. He stopped talking to you. I stopped talking to him. Couldn't stand the disappointment in his voice. She moved toward the guest room, then stopped. "Marcus, thank you. For everything. Get some sleep." Why? But sleep didn't come easily for either of them. Marcus lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the woman down the hall. She'd become part of their lives in a way he hadn't expected. Jasmine was still wary, still hurting, but even she had softened. Just yesterday he'd caught her showing Victoria how to make Sarah's cornbread. "Don't tell Dad I'm teaching you this," Jasmine had said. "He'll think I've gone soft." "Your secret's safe with me," Victoria had replied, and there was something in her voice, gratitude mixed with sorrow, that had made Marcus's chest tight. The sound of crying woke him sometime after 3, soft, muffled sobs coming from the guest room. Marcus stood, hesitated, then knocked gently on the door. "Victoria, you okay?" The crying stopped. "I'm fine. Sorry if I woke you." "Can I come in?" Silence. Then, "Yes." He opened the door. Victoria sat on the bed, her face buried in her hands. In the dim light from the hallway, he could see her shoulders shaking. Marcus sat beside her, careful to maintain distance. "What's wrong?" "I got an email," she managed through tears. "From Thomas Hendricks." "What did he say?" Victoria picked up her phone with trembling hands and showed him. The email was short and vicious. "Enjoying your little redemption tour. How does it feel knowing you're using a dead woman's memory to save your worthless foundation? I destroyed you once, Victoria. I can do it again. Only this time, I'll destroy Marcus Johnson too, and his daughter. How would you feel if something happened to that sweet little girl?" Marcus felt ice flood his veins. He threatened Jasmine. "I'm so sorry. I should leave. I should—" "You're not going anywhere." Marcus stood, pulling out his own phone. "We're calling the police. It won't help. He'll say it was just words, that he didn't mean anything by it. I don't care. He threatened my daughter." Marcus was already dialing. "That crosses a line." The police came within 20 minutes. They took statements, read the email, promised to follow up. But Victoria could see it in their eyes. Without a direct, specific threat, there was little they could do. After they left, Marcus made coffee. His hands were steady, but Victoria could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched. "I'm leaving," she said. "First thing tomorrow. I'll go back to Nashville, handle the foundation from there." "No." Marcus, he threatened Jasmine, your daughter. I won't put her in danger. If you leave, he wins. Again. Marcus turned to face her. That's what he wants. He wants to scare you off, destroy everything you've built. I won't let him do that. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is. He made it my fight the moment he framed me 5 years ago. The moment he destroyed my career and contributed to my wife's death. And now he's threatening my daughter. Marcus's voice was quiet, but deadly. No, we're not running. We're going to finish what we started. How do we fight someone like Thomas? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, we expose him. Completely. Every dirty deal, every lie, every crime. We find evidence, and we bury him with it. The FBI couldn't find enough evidence to put him away for more than 2 years. The FBI wasn't looking in the right places. Marcus pulled out his phone again, scrolling through contacts. But I know someone who might know where to look. Who? His ex-wife. Victoria stared at him. Thomas was married. 15 years. She divorced him right after his arrest. Changed her name, moved to Atlanta. Marcus found the number he was looking for. I've kept tabs on Thomas over the years. Wanted to know if he ever came back to Memphis. That's how I found Carol, his ex. We talked a few times. She hates him almost as much as I do. It's 3 in the morning, Marcus. She works night shift at Grady Hospital. She'll be awake. He hit dial, putting the phone on speaker. A woman answered on the 3rd ring. Marcus Johnson. This is either very good news or very bad news. Bad news, Carol. Thomas is making threats. Of course he is. That's what Thomas does. Carol's voice was tired but unsurprised. What's he threatening this time? Marcus explained everything, the foundation, the viral video, the email threatening Jasmine. He always goes after the families, Carol said when he finished. That's his signature move. When someone threatens him, he finds out what they love and he threatens it. We need to stop him, Marcus said. Permanently. Then you need to talk to Angela Chen. Who's Angela Chen? Thomas's accountant, the one he used for his shell companies. She kept copies of everything insurance, she called it. After Thomas threw her under the bus during his trial, she swore she'd take him down if he ever came after her again. Where is she now? Last I heard, Nashville, running a small accounting firm. Carol paused. Marcus, be careful. Thomas doesn't make empty threats. If he said he'd come after your daughter, he meant it. I know. That's why I'm going to end this. After he hung up, Victoria said, we should call the FBI. Tell them about Angela Chen. And wait how long for them to investigate? Months, years. Marcus shook his head. No. We go to Nashville, we talk to Angela, and we get the evidence ourselves. That could be dangerous. So is doing nothing. They left at dawn, before Jasmine woke up. Marcus left a note saying he had to run some errands and would be back by dinner. He hated lying to his daughter, but he couldn't risk her worrying. The drive to Nashville took 3 hours. Victoria spent most of it on her laptop researching Angela Chen. Small firm, good reputation. No public connection to Thomas Hendricks anymore. What if she won't talk to us? Victoria asked as they pulled into Nashville. Then we convince her. Angela Chen's office was in a modest building near Vanderbilt. The receptionist looked surprised when Marcus and Victoria walked in without an appointment. I'm sorry, but Ms. Chen is booked solid today. Tell her it's about Thomas Hendricks, Marcus said. Tell her he's making threats again. The receptionist's eyes widened. She disappeared into a back office. Moments later, a small Asian woman in her 50s appeared. Her expression was carefully neutral, but Victoria saw her hands clench. Come with me, Angela said. They followed her into a conference room. Angela closed the door and blinds before speaking. How did you find me? Carol Hendricks gave us your name, Marcus said. Carol. Angela smiled slightly. How is she? Tired but surviving. Aren't we all? Angela sat down. You said Thomas is making threats. Against who? My 15-year-old daughter, Marcus said, showing her the email. Angela's face went pale. She read it twice, then set the phone down with shaking hands. He's escalating. That's bad. Can you help us stop him? Why would I? Victoria leaned forward. Because you kept insurance files. Because you know what he did. Because you're tired of looking over your shoulder, wondering when he'll come after you next. Angela studied them both. You're Victoria Sterling, the CEO he framed. Yes. And you're Marcus Johnson, the engineer he got fired. Yes, Marcus confirmed. So Thomas destroyed both your lives and now you want revenge. No, Marcus said. We want justice. There's a difference. Angela was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to a filing cabinet. From the bottom drawer, she pulled out a small external hard drive. Everything's on here, she said. Bank records, wire transfers, emails. Proof that Thomas embezzled over $70 million, not the $50 million they caught him for. Proof that he set up shell companies in the Cayman Islands. Proof that he bribed SEC investigators to look the other way. She set the hard drive on the table. I've been holding on to this for 4 years, waiting for the right moment. Why didn't you give it to the FBI before? Victoria asked. Because they made a deal with Thomas. They didn't care about the whole truth, they just wanted a conviction they could publicize. If I'd come forward with this, they would have buried it to protect their case. Angela pushed the hard drive toward them. But Thomas making threats against a child, that changes things. That I won't tolerate. Marcus picked up the hard drive. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This evidence will destroy Thomas's life. But it'll also raise questions about Sterling Tech, about the people he worked with, about everyone who missed what he was doing. Angela looked at Victoria. Including you. I don't care, Victoria said. If exposing the truth means exposing my failures as a CEO, so be it. I'd rather face the consequences than let Thomas hurt another family. Then take it, and be careful. Thomas has friends in high places. When he finds out what you're doing, he'll come after you with everything he has. They left Nashville at noon, the hard drive secure in Marcus's jacket pocket. Neither of them spoke much during the drive back. They were both thinking about what came next, about the fight they were starting. We should give this to the FBI, Victoria said as they crossed back into Tennessee. We will. But first we make copies. And we talk to a lawyer, someone who can help us navigate this. I know someone, Victoria said. A friend from law school. She specializes in white-collar crime. She's tough, smart, and she hates corruption. Call her. Victoria dialed. The conversation was brief, but by the time she hung up, they had an appointment for the next morning. When they got home, Jasmine was waiting on the porch. Her arms were crossed, her expression angry. Where were you? She demanded as they got out of the truck. Nashville, Marcus said. I'm sorry, baby. I should have told you. You went to confront Thomas Hendricks, didn't you? Marcus and Victoria exchanged glances. How did you know? I'm not stupid, Dad. I read that email. I know what he said. Jasmine's voice shook. You should have told me. You should have let me help. This isn't your fight, Jazz. Yes, it is. He threatened me. That makes it my fight. Jasmine turned to Victoria. Is he going to come after us? Is he going to hurt my dad? Victoria knelt down so she was eye level with the girl. I won't let that happen. I promise you, Jasmine. Whatever it takes, I'll protect your father. How you couldn't even protect yourself 5 years ago. The words stung, but Victoria didn't flinch. You're right, I couldn't. But I'm different now. Stronger. And I'm not facing Thomas alone this time. I have your father. I have evidence. And I have the truth. Jasmine looked at her father. What did you find in Nashville? Marcus showed her the hard drive. Proof. Everything Thomas did. Everything he stole. Will it be enough to put him in prison? I don't know, Marcus admitted. But it's a start. That night they ordered pizza and sat around the kitchen table, going through the files on the hard drive. What Angela had given them was damning, not just evidence of embezzlement, but proof of bribery fraud, money laundering. Thomas Hendricks hadn't just stolen from Sterling Tech. He'd stolen from pension funds, insurance companies, even charity organizations. He's a monster, Jasmine whispered, reading one particularly horrible email where Thomas joked about stealing from a cancer research fund. Yes, Victoria agreed. He is, and we're going to stop him. But stopping Thomas wouldn't be easy. The next morning, Victoria's lawyer, a sharp woman named Diane Martinez, reviewed the evidence and gave them the harsh truth. This is good, really good, but it's also complicated. The statute of limitations has run out on some of these crimes. Others will be hard to prosecute because Thomas can claim he was just following orders or that he had permission. Diane leaned back in her chair. The SEC deal he made protects him from most charges related to Sterling Tech. Getting around that will require proving he lied to investigators, which means getting them to admit they made a bad deal. So what do? Marcus asked. We go public. We release everything to the media, let public pressure force the FBI and SEC to reopen their investigation. It's risky. Thomas can sue you for defamation. But if the evidence is solid, and it is, he won't win. What about the threats against my daughter? I'm filing a restraining order today. It won't stop him completely, but it'll give you legal recourse if he comes near your family. Diane pulled out a folder. I'm also contacting a journalist I trust, someone who specializes in corporate corruption. She'll want to interview you both. Verify the documents, then publish the story. How long will that take? Victoria asked. A week, maybe 2. Corporate investigations move fast once the media gets involved. 2 weeks felt like an eternity, but they had no choice. They spent that time preparing organizing documents, recording interviews, building their case. Jasmine helped too, her computer skills proving invaluable as she created spreadsheets and timelines. You're good at this, Victoria told her one evening. Mom taught me, Jasmine said without looking up. She was always organizing Dad's paperwork, keeping everything neat. She sounds like she was very organized. She was organized about everything, except taking care of herself. Jasmine finally looked up, her eyes wet. She kept taking on more work, more stress, trying to keep us afloat. And nobody stopped her. Nobody made her rest. I'm sorry, Victoria whispered. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't change anything. No, it doesn't. They worked in silence for a while. Then Jasmine said, I don't hate you anymore. I thought you should know that. Victoria's breath caught. Thank you. I don't forgive you either. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't hate you. That's enough, Victoria said. That's more than enough. The article dropped 2 weeks later, exactly as Diane predicted. Front page of the business section, then picked up by national outlets. The headline was simple. Embezzler Thomas Hendricks stole millions more than reported, new evidence reveals. Victoria's phone exploded with calls. The FBI wanted to meet. The SEC opened a new investigation. Former Sterling Tech employees came forward with their own stories of Thomas's corruption, and Thomas Hendricks went silent. That's almost worse, Marcus said, checking his phone for the 100th time. He should be threatening us, making noise. Instead, nothing. Maybe he knows he's beaten, Victoria suggested, but she didn't believe it. Neither did Marcus. Their answer came 3 days later. Marcus was at work when his phone rang. An unknown number. Mr. Johnson. A woman's voice, professional but concerned. This is Principal Roberts from Memphis East High School. Your daughter never showed up for class this morning. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. What do you mean she never showed up? I dropped her off myself. I know. We have her signed in at the front desk, but she never made it to first period. We've checked the bathrooms, the cafeteria, everywhere. She's not on campus. Marcus was already running to his truck. Call the police, now. He called Victoria while speeding toward the school. She answered on the first ring. Jasmine's missing, he said, his voice shaking. Thomas took her. I know he did. I'm calling Diane and the FBI. Don't do anything until... He has my daughter Victoria. I'll do whatever I have to do. Marcus ended the call and immediately received a text from an unknown number. A video file. His hands shook as he pulled over to open it. Jasmine appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like an empty warehouse. She was unharmed, but clearly terrified. Then Thomas Hendricks walked into frame, smiling at the camera. Hello, Marcus. Hello, Victoria. I assume you're both watching this together. I told you I'd destroy you if you came after me. Did you really think that little article would stop me? Thomas moved closer to Jasmine, who flinched. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to issue a public retraction. You're going to say the evidence was fabricated. And Victoria, you're going to shut down that pathetic foundation of yours. Do all that and I'll give you back your daughter. Refuse and... He shrugged. Well, accidents happen all the time. The video ended. Marcus stared at the screen, his world narrowing to a single point of focus. Thomas Hendricks had his daughter. Nothing else mattered. His phone rang again. Victoria. I saw it. She said, her voice tight with fear. The FBI is tracing the video. They'll find her. That could take hours, days. Marcus, don't do anything. But Marcus had already hung up. He pulled up the email from Thomas, the one with the threats, stared at it. Then he did something he'd sworn he'd never do. He replied, You want me? Come get me. Leave my daughter out of this. You and me, Thomas. Let's finish what you started 5 years ago. The response came within seconds. Cummings Warehouse, South Memphis, 1 hour. Come alone or she dies. Marcus drove like a man possessed, his mind a white-hot blank of rage and fear. He didn't think about the police, didn't think about waiting for help. All he could see was Jasmine's terrified face on that video. He was going to get his daughter back, and if Thomas Hendricks got in his way, God help him, because Marcus Johnson was done being the victim, done being the good guy, done following the rules. It was time to fight back. The Cummings warehouse sat in the industrial district where Memphis met the river, surrounded by abandoned buildings and empty lots. Marcus pulled up 10 minutes early, his hand steady on the wheel despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He'd texted Victoria the address before turning off his phone. If this went wrong, at least someone would know where to find them. The warehouse door hung open, rusted hinges groaning in the wind. Marcus stepped inside, his eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through broken windows. Right on time. Thomas Hendricks emerged from the shadows looking exactly like his photo's expensive suit, perfectly styled hair, that same arrogant smile. I appreciate punctuality. Where's my daughter? She's safe, for now. Thomas gestured to a chair in the center of the warehouse. Sit down, Marcus. Let's talk. I'm not sitting anywhere until I see Jasmine. Thomas sighed and pulled out his phone, tapping the screen. Seconds later, a door opened and Jasmine stumbled out. Her hands zip-tied in front of her. A large man Marcus didn't recognize held her arm. Dad, Jasmine cried out. I'm here, baby. It's going to be okay. How touching, Thomas said. The devoted father. Tell me, Marcus, was your wife this devoted, or did the stress of your unemployment kill her before she could prove it? Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Don't you talk about Sarah. Why not? She's the reason we're here, isn't she? The tragic death that makes Victoria feel so guilty. The emotional manipulation that got you sympathy donations. Thomas walked closer. You're not so different from me, Marcus. We both use people to get what we want. I just don't pretend to be noble about it. Let my daughter go. Your fight is with me. My fight is with anyone who threatens my comfortable life. and you, Marcus Johnson, have become a significant threat." Thomas pulled out a gun, keeping it pointed at the ground. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Victoria. You're going to tell her that the evidence was fake, that Angela Chen fabricated everything out of revenge. You're going to say you made a mistake helping her. And if I don't, then your daughter learns what happens to people who cross Thomas Hendricks." He raised the gun, pointing it at Jasmine. "No." Marcus moved forward, but the large man holding Jasmine pulled out his own weapon. "Don't be stupid," Thomas said. "Make the call." Marcus's mind raced. He could charge Thomas, maybe get the gun away from him, but the other man would shoot Jasmine before Marcus took 3 steps. He needed to buy time. Needed to think. "Okay," Marcus said. "I'll make the call. Just put the gun down." Thomas smiled. "I'm not an idiot. Make the call first." Marcus slowly pulled out his phone, turning it on. The screen lit up with messages from Victoria, from the FBI, from Diane. He ignored them all and dialed Victoria's number. She answered immediately. "Marcus, where are you?" "The FBI is." "Victoria, I need to tell you something." Marcus kept his voice steady, his eyes on Jasmine. "The evidence. Angela Chen's files. They're fake." Silence on the other end. Then Victoria's voice, careful and measured. "Marcus, what's happening?" "Angela fabricated everything. She was angry at Thomas, wanted revenge. We made a mistake trusting her." "Marcus, I'm sorry, Victoria. We should have verified everything before going public. Now we need to issue a retraction." "Is Jasmine with you?" "Yes." "Is she safe?" Marcus looked at his daughter. Tears streaming down her face, a gun pointed at her head. "For now." He heard Victoria take a sharp breath. She understood. "Marcus, listen to me very carefully. The FBI traced the video. They know where you are. They're 5 minutes out." Thomas snatched the phone away. "Nice try, Victoria, but we both know the FBI isn't that fast." He threw the phone across the warehouse where it shattered against a concrete pillar. "You failed, Marcus, just like you failed your wife, just like you're failing your daughter. You don't know anything about my wife. I know she worked herself to death because you weren't man enough to provide for your family." Thomas's voice dripped with contempt. "I know she died thinking her husband was a failure. That's the legacy you left her with." Something inside Marcus snapped. Years of grief and rage and guilt came flooding out. He launched himself at Thomas, catching him off guard. They went down hard. Marcus's hands going for the gun. The weapon discharged, deafening in the enclosed space. Marcus felt the bullet graze his shoulder, but the pain was distant, unimportant. All that mattered was getting the gun away from Thomas. "Dad!" Jasmine screamed. The large man holding her hesitated, unsure whether to help his boss or maintain control of the girl. That hesitation cost him. Victoria Sterling burst through the warehouse door, her face fierce with determination. She'd followed Marcus despite his attempt to handle this alone. Behind her came 2 uniformed police officers. "FBI, drop your weapons." The large man made his choice. He released Jasmine and raised his hands. Jasmine ran toward her father just as Marcus finally wrestled the gun away from Thomas. For a moment, Marcus stood over Thomas Hendricks, the gun in his hand, the man who'd destroyed his life, cowering on the ground. It would be so easy. One pull of the trigger, and all the pain, all the anger, all the years of suffering would be avenged. "Dad, don't." Jasmine's voice cut through the red haze. "Don't become like him, please." Marcus looked at his daughter, at the fear and love in her eyes. He looked at Victoria standing in the doorway, her face pale but determined. And he thought about Sarah, about what she would want him to do. He lowered the gun and stepped back. "He's all yours," Marcus said to the police officers, who rushed forward to handcuff Thomas. Thomas laughed even as they pulled him to his feet. "You think this is over? I have lawyers. I have money. I'll be out in 48 hours. "No," Victoria said, stepping forward. "You won't. Because while you were playing your little game here, the FBI executed a search warrant on your home and office. They found your offshore accounts, your fake identities, your real financial records." She smiled, and there was no warmth in it. Angela Chen's evidence was just the beginning. The FBI has been building a case against you for months. We just gave them the final pieces they needed. Thomas's face went white. "You're lying." "Am I? Check your phone?" "Oh wait, you can't. It was seized an hour ago along with your computers, your files, and your freedom." Victoria moved closer. "You destroyed my life 5 years ago. You destroyed Marcus's life. You stole from hundreds of families, ruined thousands of lives. And you thought you could keep getting away with it because you're clever and ruthless." She leaned in. "But you forgot something, Thomas. You forgot that sometimes the people you hurt fight back." The police led Thomas away, still protesting, still threatening. The large man went with them, his head down, already looking for a plea deal. As soon as they were gone, Marcus pulled Jasmine into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." "You saved me," Jasmine sobbed into his shoulder. "You came for me. Always. I'll always come for you." Victoria stood apart, giving them space until Marcus reached out and pulled her into the embrace too. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for following me, for calling the FBI, for everything. I told Jasmine I'd protect you." Victoria said, her voice breaking. "I meant it." They stood together in that warehouse, 3 people who'd been broken by the same man, now bound together by survival. The aftermath took weeks to sort out. Thomas Hendricks was charged with kidnapping, assault, embezzlement, fraud, money laundering, and a dozen other crimes. His lawyers tried everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. Angela Chen's files, combined with what the FBI had been gathering, painted a picture of corruption that spanned 2 decades. Marcus testified at the grand jury hearing, his shoulder still bandaged from the bullet graze. He told them everything about being fired, about Sarah's death, about Thomas's threats. "Did you want to kill him?" the prosecutor asked. "When you had the gun?" Marcus thought about lying, about saying no, but he'd promised himself honesty. "Yes," he said. "For about 10 seconds I wanted to kill him. But then I remembered what my wife taught me. That becoming like the people who hurt us doesn't make us strong. It makes us lost." He looked at the jury. "Thomas Hendricks is already lost. I chose not to join him." The foundation's donations tripled after the kidnapping story broke. People from all over the country sent money, inspired by Marcus's forgiveness and Victoria's determination to make amends. Within 2 months, they had enough funding to stay open for 5 years. "We should expand," Victoria said one evening, reviewing the numbers at Marcus's kitchen table. "Open satellite offices in other cities. Help more families." "That's a lot of work," Marcus said. "I know, but I can't do it alone." Victoria looked up at him. "I need a partner, someone who understands what it's like to lose everything and rebuild. Someone who won't let me make the same mistakes I made before. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a partnership, 50-50 ownership, joint decisions on everything." She pushed a contract across the table. "I've already had the lawyers draw it up." Marcus read through it, his eyebrows rising. "This gives me as much control as you have." "That's the point. I don't trust myself to run things alone anymore. I need someone who'll call me out when I'm wrong. Someone who'll keep me honest." Victoria's voice was steady. "I need you, Marcus." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I have conditions." "Name them." "First, we hire Jasmine as our youth outreach coordinator. She's good with people, and she deserves a chance to be part of something meaningful." "Done. What else?" "Second, we establish a memorial fund in Sarah's name. Every family we help gets a card telling them about Sarah Johnson, a nurse who worked herself to death trying to save her family. They should know who inspired this work." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "Done. Anything else?" "Yeah." Marcus stood walking to the window. You need to call your father. Marcus. You've been punishing yourself for 3 years, cutting yourself off from everyone who loved you. Your kids, your dad, they deserve to know you're trying to make things right. They won't forgive me. Maybe not, but you owe them the chance to try. Marcus turned to face her. I didn't forgive you right away. It took time. It took seeing you do the work. Give your family the same opportunity. Victoria nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay, I'll call him tomorrow. Call him now. Marcus? Now, Victoria. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Marcus left the room, giving her privacy. He found Jasmine in the living room, pretending to watch TV, but clearly listening. You think she'll really do it? Jasmine asked. Yeah, I do. Good. Everyone deserves a second chance, even her. Marcus sat beside his daughter, pulling her close. When did you get so wise? Mom taught me, you taught me, and even Victoria taught me in her own messed-up way. Jasmine leaned her head on his shoulder. I've been thinking about her offer, the youth outreach coordinator position. What about school? I can do both, work part-time, finish high school, then maybe college. Jasmine looked up at him. I want to help people, Dad. Like Mom did. Like you do. Like Victoria's trying to do. Your mama would be so proud of you. I hope so. I hope she can see what we're doing. How we're turning all that pain into something good. From the kitchen, they heard Victoria's voice, emotional and raw. Dad, it's me. It's Victoria. I know it's been 3 years, but I need to talk to you about everything. Marcus and Jasmine sat in silence, listening to one side of a conversation that would change Victoria's life. There was crying. There was anger, not just from Victoria's father, but from Victoria herself, finally letting out years of pain and regret. And underneath it all, there was hope. When Victoria finally emerged an hour later, her eyes were red, but her shoulders were straighter. He wants to meet, she said. Next weekend, him and my kids. That's wonderful, Marcus said. He said, her voice broke. He said he's proud of me, for what I'm doing with the foundation, for trying to make things right. Then you better make sure you keep doing it. Victoria laughed through her tears. Yeah, I better. The meeting with Victoria's family happened at a small cafe in Nashville. Marcus and Jasmine insisted on coming along for support. They sat at a nearby table, giving Victoria space but staying close enough to help if things went wrong. Victoria's father was a tall man in his 70s with silver hair and eyes that matched his daughter's. Her son Marcus, named after his grandfather Victoria, had explained, was 23, wary and defensive. Her daughter Emma was 20, softer, but still hurt. I don't expect you to forgive me, Victoria said, after the initial awkward greetings. I destroyed our family. I chose work over you. I missed birthdays and graduations and holidays because I thought success mattered more than being present. You did, Emma said quietly. You chose Sterling Tech over us, every single time. You're right. I did, and I can't change that. Victoria pulled out her phone, showing them photos of the families the foundation had helped. But I'm trying to be different now. I'm trying to help people instead of hurt them. Her father leaned forward, studying the photos. Tell me about this man, Marcus Johnson, the one who helped you start all this. Victoria glanced over at the nearby table where Marcus sat with Jasmine. He's the first person I heard at Sterling Tech. I fired him without cause, without investigation. His wife died from the stress of losing everything. And when I showed up in his life again, broken and bleeding, he saved me anyway. Why? Because he's a better person than I ever was. Because his wife taught him that forgiveness isn't about the person who hurt you, it's about freeing yourself from hate. Victoria met her father's eyes. He's teaching me how to be better dad. How to actually help people instead of using them. Marcus stood, then unable to stay away any longer. He approached Victoria's table, Jasmine following. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he said, "but I couldn't let Victoria tell this story without setting one thing straight." He looked at Victoria's family. "Your daughter has been living in a studio apartment for 3 years, working 18-hour days, helping families rebuild their lives. She remembers every person's name, every child's birthday, every family's story. She cries when people get jobs. She stays up all night writing grant applications." He put his hand on Victoria's shoulder. "She's not the same person who hurt you 3 years ago. She's better, and she's trying so damn hard to earn back your trust." Victoria's son stared at Marcus. "You're really defending her after what she did to you." "I'm not defending what she did. I'm telling you who she is now." Marcus squeezed Victoria's shoulder. "And who she is now is someone worth knowing." The cafe fell silent. Then Victoria's father stood and pulled his daughter into a hug. She broke down completely, sobbing into his chest like a child. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." "I know, sweetheart. I know." Emma joined the embrace next, then finally Marcus, Victoria's son, not the man standing beside them. The reunion wasn't perfect. There were still hard conversations to come. Still wounds that needed healing. But it was a start. That night, driving back to Memphis, Jasmine asked, "Do you love her?" Marcus nearly drove off the road. "What? Victoria. Do you love her?" "Jazz, that's complicated." "It's not complicated. It's a yes or no question." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. Maybe. Probably. But we have too much history. Too much pain. Mom would want you to be happy. Your mama would want me to be smart. And falling for the woman who destroyed our lives isn't smart." "Falling for the woman who's trying to fix what she broke sounds pretty smart to me," Jasmine said. "But what do I know? I'm just a kid." Marcus smiled despite himself. "A very wise kid. I learned from the best." 6 months later, the Workers' Dignity Foundation opened 3 new locations: Atlanta, Birmingham, and Jackson. Each one was named after someone who'd been hurt by corporate downsizing. The Memphis headquarters was called the Sarah Johnson Center. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Marcus stood beside Victoria, Jasmine between them. Local news covered the event, interviewing families who'd been helped, volunteers who'd given their time, donors who'd made it all possible. "Ms. Sterling," a reporter asked, "how does it feel to go from disgraced CEO to nonprofit founder?" Victoria smiled. "It feels like coming home, like finding the person I was supposed to be all along." "And Mr. Johnson, how does it feel working with the woman who fired you?" Marcus looked at Victoria, really looked at her. The woman she'd been 5 years ago was gone. In her place was someone stronger, kinder, more real. "It feels like forgiveness," he said simply. "Like choosing hope over hate. Like building something good from something broken." After the ceremony, after the reporters left and the donors went home, the 3 of them stood in the empty center, surrounded by photos of families they'd helped. "We did it," Victoria whispered. "We actually did it." "We're just getting started," Marcus corrected. 3 locations, 300 families helped. That's nothing compared to what we're going to do." "What are we going to do?" Jasmine asked. "Change the world," Victoria said. "One family at a time." Marcus laughed. "That's ambitious." "So was forgiving me. But you did it anyway." "Yeah." Marcus agreed, taking her hand. Jasmine took his other hand, and the 3 of them stood together in the center that bore Sarah's name. "I guess I did." Later that night, after Jasmine had gone to bed, Victoria and Marcus sat on his porch watching the stars come out. "I talked to my lawyer today," Victoria said, "about changing my will." "Why?" "Because if something happens to me, I want the foundation to go to you. And I want to make sure Jasmine is taken care of. She's like a daughter to me now, Marcus." I want to make it legal, establish a trust fund for her education, her future. Victoria, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve one. You showed me what it means to truly forgive. Let me do this. Let me be part of your family, even in a small way. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, on one condition. What's that? You stop living in that studio apartment and move in here. We have a spare room. Jasmine wants you closer. And... He paused. And so do I. Victoria stared at him. Marcus? Are you sure? After everything. After everything, you're the person who showed up when Jasmine was in danger. You're the person who works 18-hour days helping families. You're the person my daughter trusts. And you're the person I... He stopped, struggling for words. The person you... What? The person I love, Marcus said quietly. God help me, Victoria Sterling, but I love you. Not despite what you did, but because of what you've become. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve your love. Probably not, but you're getting it anyway. So what do you say? Want to be part of this weird little family we've built? Victoria kissed him, then soft and sweet and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, she was smiling through her tears. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I want to be part of this family. From her bedroom window, Jasmine watched them, a smile on her face. She pulled out her phone and looked at a photo of her mother, Sarah Johnson, in her nurse's scrubs, smiling at the camera. I hope you're okay with this, Mom, Jasmine whispered. I think you would be. I think you'd like her. And I think you'd be proud of Dad for choosing love over hate. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves outside her window, and Jasmine chose to believe it was her mother's way of saying yes. 3 years after that stormy night, when Marcus found Victoria bleeding on the roadside, they stood together at the altar of Pastor Williams's church. Jasmine was the maid of honor, crying happy tears as her father married the woman who'd destroyed their lives, and then helped them rebuild it into something better. Do you, Marcus Johnson, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? Marcus looked at Victoria, at the woman who'd traveled so far from the cold CEO who'd fired him without a second thought. He thought about Sarah, about the love they'd shared, about the lessons she'd taught him about forgiveness and grace. And he knew with absolute certainty that Sarah was smiling down on them. I do, he said. And do you, Victoria Sterling, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Victoria looked at Marcus, at the man who'd given her a second chance when she'd deserved nothing. At Jasmine standing beside them, with Sarah's smile on her face. At the community they'd built, the families they'd helped, the future they were creating together. I do, she whispered. They kissed as husband and wife, and the church erupted in applause. Miss Ruby stood wiping her eyes. Mrs. Chen threw rice. Pastor Williams blessed them with joy in his voice. And somewhere in a federal prison in Alabama, Thomas Hendricks watched the news coverage of their wedding and knew he'd lost. Not just his freedom, but the battle for their souls. He'd tried to destroy them, and instead, he'd given them each other. At the reception, Marcus and Victoria danced to Sarah's favorite song. Jasmine joined them halfway through, and they swayed together, 3 people who'd been broken by hate and healed by love. Thank you, Victoria whispered to both of them, for giving me a family, for teaching me what really matters. Thank you, Marcus replied, for showing us that people can change, that redemption is possible, that forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you, Jasmine added, for proving that Mom was right, that love is always stronger than hate. They danced until the stars came out, until the guests went home, until it was just the 3 of them under the Memphis sky. A family, broken and rebuilt, scarred but stronger, tested by fire and made pure. And as they drove home that night, home to the house where it all began, where Marcus had carried a bleeding Victoria through the door and chose mercy over revenge, They knew that every choice they'd made, every act of forgiveness, every moment of grace had led them exactly where they needed to be, together.